Welcome to the program from the 33rd team, the great NFL writer Jason Colt. Could you deduce anything from the preseason about how any of these teams or players are going to perform?
Oh, absolutely not. No.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like there was no effort whatsoever to even disguise the fact that these weren't even as intense as some of the practices as the players and the coaches often allude to.
I think it is incredibly difficult to try and figure out who's actually really good for the first month of the season. I would stay away. Of course, I'm saying that to you.
I'm trying to figure out who to use in my survivor pool in week one. What are you talking about as we speak?
Yeah, you want the veteran teams that know how to play at speed. The younger teams are going to struggle with this kind of stuff unless they're coached by somebody who's like a real high octane coach. He's just going to get them playing like rabid dogs. Not a lot of Jimmy Johnson's in the league right now.
Dan Campbell, I guess, comes to mind right away.
Love Dan Campbell. Love.
Yeah. Crazed is not strong enough to quantify where he's coming from in relation to the other coaches.
I often, and I've said this out loud, that if they win a Super Bowl, he's running naked down 8 miles in the middle of
100%. 100%.
Right? No question about it.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
All right, very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. We apologize for yesterday's debacle there, as we were stuck in technical freeze hell yesterday. Lubie was working on this thing. We sat here for like an hour trying to get even a minute in of the show for you guys, and we appreciate your loyal following of this program here on South Florida Live. Certainly, it is one of those things that's very heartening to see the people that follow us, no matter what. We get on 15 minutes late. We don't get on at all. You guys are still here. Man, thank you very much. You don't know what it means to us. See, it's funny, too, Lubie, because I still get a kick out of this. I mean, it's a little late for me to be relating to my, radio career here. But, I'm at the track. It's always nice when people that you've never seen before, they recognize you and they say, man, I tell you what, are you still on the air somewhere? I really appreciated your show. And they start quoting things back. I told you about that guy that stopped me at the entrance to the Isle Casino the other day, now known as the Pomp of Pompano, which is... Harris couldn't come up. Their marketing department couldn't come up with anything better than that.
Oh, is that really what
Pomp?
it's called? I thought that's what you guys call it. I didn't know.
No, they call it the Pomp.
Oh, that's not a name.
Yeah, it's in Pompano Beach. The Pomp of Pompano? What the fuck is that? They're paying some guy like $300,000 a year to go ahead and make up slogans like that. That's the best you could do. We still refer to it as the Isle, so obviously it's had no impact whatsoever. I was just beginning to come around to calling it Harris, and the next thing you know, they changed the name. They call it the Pomp. They got a lot of shit going on there, huh? That was weird. I remember it because I doubt that you frequent. Did you ever go to Pompano Park when it was on harness track, Lubie? Your dad never said, hey, kid, let's go to the races and make a man out of you. No?
We did spring training and the occasional heat game. We weren't going to the harness track.
Well, actually, what? You were born in 83?
I'm a year older or a few months older than your son.
Okay, so you're born in 83. By then, no, Pompano was still thriving. I was doing well because I came here in 81 and I used to go out there and there were big crowds out there. You know, it was always interesting. They used to hold court at this downstairs bar where the King brothers, Roger King, and I forget his brother's name, but they were the ones that syndicated the Oprah Winfrey show. They discovered Oprah. Oh, wow. And they also were the syndicators of Wheel of Fortune, King TV.
Jesus.
I'm not sure if that was the name of their company. And here are two of the richest motherfuckers in the world, and they're hanging out drinking dollar beers in this scumbag harness track down here in South Florida. But it wasn't really a scumbag place back then. It was kind of a destination. In fact, did you go to Yankee spring training games? The Yanks were still in Fort Lauderdale, right?
Yankees, Orioles. I think the Expos were down here.
The Orioles played at what was Bobby Maduro Stadium. Is it still called Bobby Maduro? It was called Miami Stadium, I think, at the time, something like that.
No idea. I know that we had a good 4.
What a shithole that was.
Down here. We went to a lot of spring training. We did not go to the track at all.
I'm telling you, it was kind of, a high-end entertainment destination back in the day. Then it kind of scummed out a little bit. I mean, you would think a guy like Larry the Leaper was kind of like royalty there. It really got down to low-level degeneracy, and they made it a casino. And wow, for a long time though, the people that owned, I guess it was called Isle of Capri, and they owned some casinos. I want to say what, like the kind of company that had casinos in Biloxi and offbeat places where casino development was first taking hold. And you were thinking, why the fuck did these guys buy this place? But since the harness track has been demolished, they put a casino up there, and they're right by Palm Air and a bunch of retirement type of communities. And let's face it, those Social Security checks, as soon as they hit the bank, are right there in the slot machines. And it's become a thriving thing. But have you been over there at any time or even driven by there? They got a Top Golf there now, and they're developing like a whole city in this place.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Wow. How profitable was that for whoever purchased the land there and the opportunity to operate a casino that we don't even know what the regulations are for this casino, Louie. I don't know. Do they have to post what the payouts are for their slot machines? Which at least there you do see the occasional winner. It's not always the straight drainage that you get in some of these places where you put $100 in a slot machine and you don't even get like a couple of cherries at any time during the run. It just goes, whoosh, evaporates right there. And somebody's screaming, hey, the jackpot, but it's like the rare person. But anyway, yeah, it was, it was quite the thriving place. But you used to see a lot of New York Yankees there. The spring training thing. If you wanted to meet New York Yankee stars, you went to see Alan Finkelson, who was the PR director. A great guy, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. There are certain people, Lubie, that you run into, and no matter what mood you're in, no matter what the circumstances, no matter what the assignment might be, and they're working in sports media, and this guy just always made you feel good. Don't you wish the Marlins operated that way? Wouldn't that help them to have a guy like that in their PR department? Do we even know who the Marlins PR person is?
No, it's funny. Mr. Mama, like 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, texted me asking for my Marlins contact. And I was like, oh, shit. Because Jason,
do we even know?
Years we were there, he was rough. So, like, it's been 2 years since, or 2.5 years since. So it's hard for me to believe that he's still, knowing the Marlins, he's not even there anymore. And if he is there, we don't have a relationship with him. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't have a relationship with any of the sports teams anymore, but they were always the worst.
Well, Tim Donovan's still in place there with the Heat.
Donovan's the one I talk to. I do talk to him. We have a good relationship with him. We get Rossi on a lot.
Who's like PR for the Dolphins? Do we know?
No, it used to be. Look, Jenkins rose to like the
Jason
top,
Jenkins was great.
He was still my dude, and God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Like once he passed, I sort of lost touch with their people. We never had anyone with the Panthers, but they were cool if we ever did try. The
Panthers were always cooperative. It was never a thing. Like with the Marlins, who desperately need any publicity they can get that's on the positive side.
Always weird.
And, you get no response. I mean, you could call there all day. I don't even know if they have an answering machine or voicemail available in the PR department. Did they even have a PR guy? I'm not sure.
I presume, but if they didn't, I wouldn't be shocked.
That's a position that's been eliminated here. We have to watch our budget. We're paying our minor league, second baseman or whatever. It's crazy. But they did. I sent a text to Tommy Hutton last night because I do believe this, and it's been written a couple of places that I've seen where people that analyze baseball say that this William Bendix, Peter Bendix, absolutely fleeced the Orioles in that deal.
Supposedly, these young guys are good. It's the first time that they got good young players in any of these trades. The time that we've all given up. It's literally, I used to always at least pay attention just to say I was right. Now I'm so sick of it. I didn't pay attention. And supposedly they played way better baseball since they made all these moves. I hope he knows what he's doing. It's hard to believe it with what we've seen the last 2.5 since 97. So 27 years. We've seen the same story over and over again. So it's hard to believe going young and trading talent, whatever the level of talent, is the move down here.
It's a futile and endless cycle of futility that you keep getting these prospects, and as soon as they get to the point where they're eligible for free agency or that they're getting close to getting into contractual negotiations of any significance, they're long gone. And we've seen it too many times. It's an ugly cycle. But, this trade with the Orioles, Stowers, not sure yet, right? Stowers? Not sure what kind of player he's going to be, but this Norby looks like a real player. And in the meantime, Trevor Rogers was a complete bust, as evidenced by our predictions that made us look very strong when we just said bet against Trevor Rogers every start with the Orioles. He got shelled every time, and the next thing you know, he got shelled right out of the major leagues. I don't know why I'm getting some bizarre feedback here, Lubie. I'm not sure if that's on me or something that we can correct. But anyway, yeah, good to be with you. So if I seem a little, more confused than usual, there's a reason for it. It's because I'm hearing it's the Grand Canyon effect, we used to call it, right? Remember, that was always the mix minus button. It was called the mix minus button. And if the guy punched that in on the board, then you would be hearing, hello, 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 hello. Good to be with you. It was Bob Shepard to an exponent of 10. Where you're getting the feedback and the kickback. All right, a lot of stuff to go through. I do have to pay tribute to Eddie Kranepool. I was a big Ed Kranepool fan. Checked out yesterday, I guess, or maybe the day before, at the age of 79. He had a kidney transplant, I think, a couple of years ago, and then ran into complications. Diabetes, not a good thing to get if you're a fan of Let's Eat South Florida and the food show with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Careful, people. I mean, you can't just keep shoveling food in your face. I don't know. Does that become more? I mean, is it more likely that you will acquire diabetes, or that it'll sort of evolve through your lifetime, or do you have it like right away? I guess you got to watch yourself, right?
No,
as you get older, are you more susceptible to get diabetes? That would be the question.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been warned and keep going into it. I mean, now they have the thing. I don't know if it's always existed, but type 2 diabetes, which is like pre-diabetes, which is a form of diabetes that you can actually, I don't know if it's cured, but you can get rid of. If you
people have overcome it, I guess. Adult onset diabetes is another one.
Well, and then there's
I think my dad had that. He was always warning me, watch what you eat, kid, because I have this and it's maybe running in the family. I was always sort of like on the borderline number there when I was fat, really fat. I don't know that I'm thin now, but I was up there another 40 pounds plus during the big run that Lubie and I had on the radio, and it got to the point where the breaking point for me was we were doing the Super Bowl in Miami. I remember they put us up. They offered us a hotel room for one night, which some iHeart executive was going to blow like $500 on a hotel room, even though he wasn't going to be doing anything that was relevant to the coverage of the game. And in the meantime, we were schlepping from Broward all the way down to the Miami Beach Convention Center at 4 a.m. And so I remember Grace Blazer said, well, we have a hotel room available if one of you guys wants it. And you said, well, that's okay. You take it, Def. And I did. I don't know that it was any great advantage because they still had to drive.
It took me about the same amount of time to go there as it did to go home, because it was super west and it was still Miami. So you had to drive Miami traffic to get there.
No, it wasn't that great.
So the distance was probably less, and we both lived north, but like time wise, it wasn't better.
Maybe you shaved 5-10 minutes off the thing.
5 minutes max.
Yeah. It seemed cool though. Like, okay, I'm staying near the convention center. I felt pretty good. You would think that they would do things to accommodate you, since we were busting our ass, not even getting paid by the station. You were making like $15 an hour, and I was making 10 from the station. We had opportunity to make money by selling advertising, which it's like you're doing two jobs to do one.
Yes.
You're supposed to have people that can sell at the station. They're paying them a lot of money to sit around and do nothing. They're cutting out paper dolls like they were Perry White at the Daily Planet. You're out there busting your ass, not only doing the work that it takes to get the shows on the air, but then doing remotes and all of this stuff. So, yeah, I remember I was in that hotel and I'm putting my belt on, which I normally used to, have on like maybe the third notch. When I was in shape, it was like the fifth notch in. And then I could barely squeeze into the first notch.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm looking at myself, I'm going, holy fuck, you are one fat fuck. I remember being, seeing pictures, you were horrified, you would look and go, is that really me? Because you don't sense it. But I mean, I thought, wow. And I would get the look at that time when I used to go to the rare doctor's appointment I used to actually go through with. And they would always give you the look like you're one step away from being a full-fledged diabetic. Now, I don't know that I've gotten further away from that since I dropped like that weight. I'm assuming, yes, that I'm sort of okay with that. I don't get the look anymore. I haven't. I'm due for like a checkup or whatever. But yeah, you don't want to get it. So Kranepool, ended up with diabetes, and then he suffered a heart attack. Is that something that might trigger a heart attack? Diabetes, or is that just an arbitrary series of bad luck where bad news comes in threes? Because he had the kidney transplant, which he seemed to be doing okay with, diabetes, and then boom, a heart attack. 79 years old. But I do remember Eddie Kranepool for a lot of reasons. I started working at Shea when it opened up in 1964, and we used to hang out by the players' entrance there, and we were there many hours before the game. And Ed Kranepool, even as a young kid, I mean, he was 17 when he first played for the New York Mets. And I think he came up in 62 with the New York. Is that possible? If he was 79, what would he have been 17 and 62, 44? Yeah, something like that. Couldn't have been more of a gentleman. What a really good guy. There was a lot of pressure on this kid, too, because he had been a superstar. I think it was James Monroe High School in New York, and he had broken, like, Hank Greenberg's home run record there or something, one of the famous home run hitters. And so a lot of expectations on him. I don't know that he had a great career, but he was in the bigs for a long time. So another original Met checking out as Ed Kranepool passed away. And then, of course, James Earl Jones, the actor. Everybody loved this guy, right? What a voice. Jones. He was great. Very regal actor and very distinguished. But, he checked out. So that was bad. We had to get into the obituary column. And then the other obituary, I guess, that we have to examine. Do you ever look at road signs, Lubie, and think about the sexual double entendre? Or somebody will ask you, well, what's your favorite road sign? And I'm always thinking in those terms, like which one has the best sexual double entendre? Now, the stop sign is not one that you really want to throw into the equation there, where a woman just puts up the stop sign. Especially if she's an unwilling participant in this thing. But my favorite sexual double entendre stop sign is slippery when wet. Slippery when wet. Dangerous curve, all of these other things. They don't quite stack up there with slippery when wet. That says it all. And I think that would be an appropriate stop sign when you're looking over the second week of the National Football League, would it not? Because I don't know. I mean, could you really be convinced? I mean, there are certain teams that look absolutely ugly. But is there going to be a reversal of form of sorts for teams in week 2 of the regular season now that we don't have a preseason? What do you think, Libby? I mean, how dangerous is this week's card in the NFL, including what starts out on Thursday night, which we're going to talk with Scoop Skolnick about here, as the Dolphins right back in action in a pivotal inside the division game for AFC East supremacy and early bragging rights as to who's really good. The Dolphins hosting the Buffalo Bills, who struggled in their first game, although they came up with a victory. They were down, I think, significantly to the Arizona Cardinals.
17-3, I think.
Bounced back, won the ball game. And Miami didn't look overwhelmingly sharp, did they?
No.
You were questioning the play calling early on. It did seem like McDaniel was calling a lot of weird, not even screens, just throwing the ball straight out into the flat.
And it's our friend. We were doing internet radio, I think, at the Defo internet radio stuff at the time, and Ken and Pete, they like hated Adam Gase because that was Adam Gase whole game plan was just
check down Chad. I mean, he didn't have Chad Henne, but
the stupid screen.
It's an offense no fan really wants to embrace, right?
No, and that's the funny thing is I'm a fan of the screen. I think I'm like a 3rd and 2 by the goal line. Throwing in a screen fucks up the defense, and it's a smart play that teams never do.
You don't see that often.
I don't want a screen to be the basis of I think he threw like 15 screens in that game.
A lot of short passes. I mean, I didn't see every play because we got up and left one place and went to another in the middle of the game. And wow, I did get a bunch of people with input. And we hate to say this because the guy's a good guy, but wow. I don't think, and I think it's fair to say, Jimmy Cefalo as a play-by-play announcer with the Dolphins was never my favorite play-by-play guy.
Oh, he's a good dude, but he's horrendous.
Great guy, a good guy. I mean, really, and was going through a lot. I mean, just pure health hell. And I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of brave guys battling health issues. Cefalo, I mean, took it on like a real man. Yeah, you would really want to have that kind of bravado when it came to taking on health issues. I mean, he was fighting some hideous stuff. He described some of the shit that he was going through to me one day when I was talking to him, and I thought, my God, how the fuck do you do that? I guess you do whatever you have to, right?
Yes.
You can endure any amount of pain if it means that you're going to live longer
Yes.
and be around. And Cephalon wasn't that old. I guess he's in his 70s, early 70s,
Wow,
something
yeah,
there.
yeah. At the time, he was in his 60s.
But I can't tell you how many people called me during the course of the game and said they were driving around and said, this is the absolute most amateurish, worst broadcast they've ever heard. And now with Sirius Satellite, you're getting broadcasts from all around the league. And you would have to think that pretty much all of them, when you get to the NFL level, sound very professional.
Yes.
But he said this sounds worse than any high school broadcast that you will ever hear. So maybe it's deteriorated. I know it used to annoy the fuck out of me when I would leave the game and turn it on the radio. And you would have no idea. I mean, just the simplest of basics, like down and distance, time left on the clock, score. You'd be driving for a half an hour and not know the score, which was bad. And then the play descriptions were, I mean, as vague as you could possibly get. So I didn't even know he was still doing it, but apparently it's not the best of broadcasts. And I really don't like to condemn other people in the business that we know personally, especially.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody was saying how horrendous it was. Which I mean, is it? Do you have to know? I mean, Joe Biden stuff. I mean, do you know who wouldn't want to do it? Let's face it. What a great way to make a buck.
They offer it to you. It's weird, but like, are you going to say they keep giving him the contract? I look. Jimmy Cephalon was never made,
and it's okay. I like the fact they have loyalty to ex players. That's great. I mean, they have a great. Seem to treat everybody very well that's on the squad now. I mean, other teams had holdouts and all kinds of contractual stuff. Stephen Ross is just giving money away. Every guy was taken care of long before the fact, even though there was this big debate about Tua and his contract. He got the money well before the season.
Yes.
And everybody else seems to be happy there. And Ramsey, they gave him a ton of money, even though, he hasn't been able to line up all the time.
Yep.
So they pretty much are in the habit of being loyal to people, or so it seems, and that's a good thing for what is perceived to be an ice cold business. But I don't know. I mean, how do you tap the guy on the shoulder and say, "Oh, hey, you know what? Doesn't sound so good."
I mean,
what do you do there? Or does it even matter anymore? The radio broadcast.
I look, that's a good point, to be honest with you, because you can just have it on your phone while you're driving.
Yeah.
If you want to, it's what I do. I mean, just don't watch it, but you can have it and listen to the real call. But I've never understood that with the dog. Like, back in the day, they used to have some of the real deal broadcasters. But, and look, and Cephalon's been around a long time in the broadcast industry. He was on Today? He was a national broadcaster. So it's not
yes. I mean, he had a very good career.
He's a good broadcaster. He was never good in that role. And he's a good man. And we got along with him really well. I consider him a friend. It just never fit, which is weird because that's a real, like, you'll have a legit that's an actual, like, career, is to be the local voice on the
play-by-play.
It was especially for football. I mean,
it was a job I thought I actually had a chance to get at one point in time. It was close. And then Huizinga bought the team, and I forget who his henchman was. Who was the guy that was like his right-hand guy that ended up, he was the head of their broadcast operations. And he didn't want to do anything that the radio station was recommending. He just wanted to be a hard ass about everything. So, and that's when Bill Zimpher out of Pennsylvania, a relative unknown in the community, who was a very nice man and was a very competent radio broadcaster with a big voice. And he made a nice team with Jim Mandich, because Mandich was just rising in popularity as a color analyst and was starting to, kind of step out there and do some things that the fans really warmly embraced. And Zimpher let him do his thing. He was very gracious about that, and let sort of the Mad Dog be the star of the broadcast. But I mean, when you looked at it, it's kind of like, I don't know, Lubie, if you've been in situations where you've lost out jobs to guys, and then years later you look back and go, you know what, maybe they made the right call there. I'm not sure that I wouldn't have done as good a job and been as compatible with the Mad Dog as Bill Zimpher, but I did lose a job many years ago when I first starting out in the newspaper business. And I'd worked a couple of years, and I was about to get the assignment as the Dodgers beat reporter for the San Bernardino Sun.
Nice.
Pretty sure I had it locked up. And then at the last minute, they hired the nephew of one of the big city editors at the paper, which the San Bernardino Sun was a fairly significant newspaper at the time, in spite of the fact it was well outside of Los Angeles. But it was the biggest one in this area, called the Inland Empire. And they hired a guy named Tracy Ringlesby, who went on to become very distinguished. He might even be in the Hall of Fame. Tracy Ringlesby made his mark more so, not so much with the Dodgers, but I believe for a long time covered the Colorado Rockies when they first came into existence. But, you look back and go, okay, you know what? Would I have been as good a beat writer as Tracy Ringlesby? Probably not. Because I wasn't oriented towards the kind of minutia detail that we're going to get from, I don't know. I mean, can you get all excited about some guy who's got like a toe injury and then, as soon as he steps out of his car, you're assaulting him with a microphone. Hey, how the fuck are you feeling? Or you pick up the rival newspaper and they've got like a giant story that is making headlines all across the country and you missed it. That would have been more likely my MO. Although I was dedicated to the job at the time. And I mean, think about it. I would have gone from this schlepper newspaper that was coming out in the afternoon 6 days a week and had a circulation of about 5,000. I would have jumped from that to being the Dodger beat reporter for a newspaper that had, I don't know, maybe 30, 50,000 circulation. So, and plus just the whole idea of going to every Dodger game would have been pretty cool. All right. Anyway, enough about me and my failures in my career. That whole thing, I can't believe how bombarded I was. And I didn't get the game on the radio as we were driving, but everybody was saying that the broadcast was just absolutely abysmal at best. I don't know. We should get the opinion of Jim Sarney on this thing. He's a bona fide, qualified media critic.
To do that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he heard it knowing him. He's not listening to radio.
Yeah. Sarney watches stuff that nobody could even find. He just referenced something here about John Mita Perel, who we did a few things with very briefly with the ill-fated Tony Bruno Sports Network. Real good guy. I really enjoyed having him on the shows. And he says he's on with Andrew Marchand, who was the media critic for the New York Post, who's now, is it The Athletic? I'm not sure who he's with. He moved on to a bigger organization, which, the Post is fairly distinctive in terms of print journalism these days. Not the news part, but the sports. And he says, everybody loves sports media. It's a podcast. All right, so he's doing well. But I mean, if anybody would know, Sonny, we need your review. Jimmy Cephalo and the radio broadcast of the Dolphin games. Is it time to make a change? That's the question. All right, obviously it's time. I'm getting alarms going off on that. How come after 12 years of this phone, I can't turn off this Tuesday alarm?
You just go to alarms and turn it off.
You're wondering why I can't sign in the morning, Lubie. All right, we'll get to the bottom of everything. I think it's a slippery slope. Slippery when wet. This week's card in the NFL, including the Dolphins game. The Dolphins, I believe, were favored by 1 on a hook originally. It's now 2 on a hook over the Bills at home.
Yeah.
Is what we saw. I mean, I thought, well, we'll get into it with Scoop Skolnick. We want to give him as much time as we can. Scoop's going to join us here from 5 Reasons Sports Network in just a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:30. Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Francois Lebec. Good morning, Francois.
Listen to me one moment, please. You fat ass. Tired of the way you speak about the Canadians? We are good people. We're here vacationing on the beach. We bring our dollars here, and you're always putting down the Canadians, and me personally am sick and tired of your crap. And you're not losing weight. I saw you the game. You're fat like a pig. The other thing that I would like to say is that you're going to throw out some baseball. I will be there personally to boo you out of the stadium. We come here as good people, friendly people, nice people. We don't need you to speak like you speak, Jeffrey, the fat ass the forest.
The Defo Show, featuring Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
I definitely want to dodge that diabetes thing, the big D. On you, Lubie? Yeah, that belt, it barely went to the first notch. I think you were with me at the time, not when I was putting my pants on, but later on. I remember I was sitting outside. We were in a lounge, during a little downtime there between interviews or whatever, and it was like, holy shit, you got to do something about this. And thus began the Walk of Life, which turned out to be very much of a lifesaver. All right, we're trying to connect with Scoop Skolnick here, and he is with 5 Reasons Sports Network, and see what he thought about the Dolphin game. So what do you think? I mean, this week, as you transition into week number 2, I was just looking over this card here, and I was thinking, well, a lot of people are going to be betting with extreme confidence this week, no? Dolphins Bills at 2.5. Even at 2.5, Lubie, don't you feel like early in the season at home, no matter who it's against, it's not freezing in Buffalo yet, so the Bills probably actually, I don't know, do they have an advantage? The Dolphins are working out in this heat, which it's debilitating. I don't care who you are. When you come to South Florida in September, Buffalo is what? Maybe like 70 degrees right now?
I was going to say, Buffalo, I know
no humidity.
Gets humidity, but Buffalo isn't, right? Like Buffalo's weather's always totally different. And like it's
they have well, I haven't gone to the Q, so I know all about Buffalo weather. And Buffalo weather was even more extreme than Syracuse, believe it or not. And Syracuse, it was a big joke. There was an Indian summer, they called it. It would be a Native American summer now, but an Indian summer, and you would get like one day in July where it was absolutely gorgeous, and that was it. That was pretty much the whole fucking summer. The weather in the fall, it was pleasant, but it was nothing like it is here. Insufferable heat.
Yes.
Even when the sun isn't blasting, I was out doing my walk yesterday, and it was looked like it was going to rain. You could kind of feel that. But still, I mean, a schwitz city. By the time you took, a couple of steps, you were already like sweating. And it's very debilitating. And on the field, I know this for a fact. I mean, especially early in the year. It could get into like 115 degrees down on the field.
Yep.
If it's a really hot day, you can't sit in the stands.
Like it's a night game, but like that's the thing with South Florida is even at night it's still humid as fuck.
Yeah,
the humidity. Like I walk my dog at night. It's 9-10 o'clock, and it's like you're like this. There's no sun. Like why am I sweating as I walk around at night? So that's the thing is it's a home game. They don't have the weather we have, and they both started out slow. I presume the Dolphins will win. They just played like utter garbage and found a way to win. So yes, the Bills should still be a contender for the AFC East, contender for the AFC. It's early in the year, as we saw, and they're going on the road to a place that is very different weather. I presume the Dolphins will win, and I would go with them to cover.
I mean, I don't know that weather is the overriding factor in this game. Like you said, it's at night. Now, if Belichick, who's looking to come back as a coach next year, at least that's the report.
That's the word. Okay.
If Belichick was coaching the Dolphins, let's say Mike McDaniel falls on his face and Stephen Ross says, "Get me Belichick." Would he not unleash a swarm of mosquitoes on the Buffalo Bills side, which would be perfect for the Thursday night weather? Mm-hmm. And have these guys, being inflicted with encephalitis and all of this other stuff while they were playing a game? He would do anything to win this fucking thing. No,
100%.
2.5. The Dolphin play calling, though, I'm sort of with you. And like I said, I missed a portion of the game. They did come back. They threw the bomb there to Tyreek Hill. They just missed him on another play, so they might have put more points on the board. But early in the game, I'm looking at it going, that these plays that are being called, it's more suspect the play calling than like a Rudy Giuliani election fraud brief. What exactly you're trying to say, Mr. Giuliani? It was very strange. I thought they would be, going with those short passes down the middle of the field and, picking apart the opposition, the Jacksonville Jaguars in this one, but that didn't happen. And then, so what can you read into week number one? I mean, with those two teams, Bills very suspect, Dolphins a weird approach, and not putting the kind of points on the board that you would thought that they would be capable of early on. And then you look at all of these other games. I mean, are the Giants as bad as they looked in week number one?
Yes.
They are. Okay.
Yeah, the Giants are rough.
They're already all over
And
Daniel Jones.
And they're hanging in with Daniel Jones and the defending of Daniel Jones. Like, okay, when you start doing that, that's when you're in trouble. Look, if you have a bad quarterback, it's one thing, but to double down on the bad quarterback, that's what scares me from. Like, I like a coach that just says, all right, fuck it. Like, this isn't working. And I get it. Sometimes there's a reason they're backups in the NFL, so you may not be better, but I don't know, Giants are a mess. I don't know what they can hang their hat on, because it's not. They used to at least have good defense. Like, the defense is in the run game now with no Barkley's in. Then you have Daniel Jones. I don't know that they're going to compete for the worst team in football this year. They're going to be up there.
All right, and it looked horrible in week number one, no question. Jets. What you saw last night? What did you think, Lubie? Jets last night. You had the one good drive there in the first half that Aaron Rodgers. After what did he have? Two? No, that was the second drive when he drove him down the field for a touchdown, and you thought, "Wow, this guy's not bad." Nothing special there. I mean, statistically, subordinary for a player of Aaron Rodgers' stature. I believe the Jets will be badly overbet until maybe week 8 if they continue to play poorly, just because of the Rodgers factor. Everybody thinks that miraculously this guy is going to resurrect them from the grave and stop that streak of non-playoff appearances, which I think is at 17 years, something like that. Jesus. Imagine that, not making the playoffs for 17 years.
It can't be 17 years. They went to back-to-back AFC championship games when we were doing shows.
It's some ridiculous number of years, though.
I think it's been like 12 or 13 years. It's because they went to the back-to-back AFC championship games, and then they haven't been back to the playoffs at all since.
Imagine that. That's almost impossible, right?
The NFL,
we made the playoffs with Tony Sperano.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and I mean, you would have thought, somewhere along the line, don't you have to just sort of back into a playoff with now it would be a 9-8 season, and you get in on the last week because 3 other teams fuck up, and you get catapulted into the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, that's a scathing indictment against their chances. But I mean, what did you take away from last night's game? Anything? Did you watch the whole thing? Because we thought, and we were correct about this. The 49ers, even without McCaffrey, have too much talent for the New York Jets. And yes. I don't know what happened to Sauce Gardner in that game. He was out for a while. Did he end up getting hurt? Because that would be a significant blow to their defense.
I don't know
if he was not playing. But they're favored by 4 points over the Titans.
The Titans aren't great. Look, Andy said something. He's not wrong. Like, coming up, they play the Titans, they play the Patriots, they play the Broncos. The Vikings actually looked really good. But they play those teams, so it's to me, if you're bad, no game's easy though. Like, I think Rodgers showed some signs yesterday. He's not totally done. I mean, I give him credit for that, but
that one drive, he looked great.
They still have offensive line issues. Their defense was never as good as they made the defense out to be. I think the defense is a good defense. They make the defense like, well, if they just got any kind of quarterback, this defense, it's a good defense.
Yeah, you would have thought they were the purple people eaters.
They talk about them like they're the Ravens of 2000. Like, that's not what this defense is. The defense has some really interesting pieces. It's a nice to good defense. It's not a fucking elite defense. It's not a great defense. And the offense is okay. And Aaron Rodgers is 40, coming off a season-ending injury. The mobility is not going to be there. He can still throw a nice ball. And he still, look, that second touchdown was bullshit. It was 100% a free play. But he's been around long enough to know, okay, you're going to give me a free play. I'm going to chuck it down the field. No one was ready, and they got a touchdown. So they'll steal a touchdown here and there. And they still – the Niners couldn't score. The Niners literally kicked like 6 field goals and won by 3 touchdowns. How the fuck do you kick 6 field goals, won by 3 touchdowns? Or they won by 2 touchdowns? Like, they were up by 2.
It was 32-19 was the final. Yeah,
they
2
were
touchdowns.
Up by 2 touchdowns the entire game, and they couldn't put it in the fucking end zone. Purdy was way off. Like, a big part of what made Rodgers great was the brain, and he also, for a guy that didn't turn the ball over, still was athletic and moved well. It's hard for me to believe at 40, coming off the injury came off of, he's still going to have that athleticism. and their defense. They made a lot of interesting signings on the offensive line. They're all old dudes. So like,
yeah, they changed completely.
Teron Smith was a top 3 to 5 offensive lineman 3 to 5 years ago. There's a reason the Cowboys let him go. Like linemen, like it's the same thing that happened with Armstead with the Saints. If you're an elite tackle, they don't let you go.
No.
If they let you go, there's a fucking reason. Like, and that's the thing.
Because you're only going to play at best 2/3 of the games.
Bingo. So I don't think the Jets will suck. I think their fans will have stuff to root for. I still don't think they will be a playoff team. I don't think they're going to be what the league wants them to be. I think the Bills and the Dolphins are the class of that division, and I think you're going to see Tua and Josh Allen play better as the year goes on. I think the Jets are going to struggle to get to 8 wins. And I don't trust him as a coach. He's had a lot of weird shit with stuff he said, and that never stops. Like, I don't know. People get excited against New York, and that's fine. You get excited. Like, I get it, but I don't see them. And the AFC's loaded. Like, the AFC, it's just stupid. Like teams like the Texans are just like in the periphery, and they won a playoff game last year and added a Stephon Diggs. So like the AFC is just like the NFC is no one good. There's like 2 or 3 good teams in the NFC. The AFC is like 10. Like the Bengals lost because Burrow's coming off an injury and no one plays in the preseason. The Bengals will be good. Like they'll be there. The Ravens are really good. The Steelers are an interesting team now with a Fields, who's definitely a better quarterback than a Pickett. Like the AFC is just stupid with what it is. So for me, the Jets, I don't see how they don't get lost in the shuffle.
And I predicted that it was a good play to take the Dolphins to win the AFC East at 2-1. Oh, good. Yeah, this is great. Let's get somebody that knows what the fuck they're talking about on here. No, you've been very authoritative, Lubie, and I have great respect for your opinion now, whereas many years ago,
I'm not him.
The theory was don't let Lubie say a word. But we've come off of that position, and I'm amazed that Scoop hasn't offered you a couple of $100,000 to work for 5 reasons. Scoop, how are you, man? Great to have Scoop Skolnick on the show.
Good to be with you guys.
Good morning, Scoop.
I have to, I really love the story of you and your daughter, and we go back to when things were evolving in a negative direction, and you were going through a lot there at that time when we were in the Lappa Nation doing radio, and so I totally empathize because the kid is the most important part of coming out of these things, and I'm really, it's so heartening to see what you've done with Sasha over the years, but to take your daughter to the dance moves. I mean, are you going to get a lot of shit? You talk to these athletes, and you're very close to them, and a lot of them have rhythm, and they can dance, and they sort of have a secondary, very strong interest in music and this sort of thing. The moves, Scoop, I have to say, were highly questionable. No, I mean, your daughter is she's terrific. I mean, Peggy Fleming on the ice, and she dances like she's J-Lo, but. Yeah, I mean, I was good. I'm glad you got out there, though, Scoop. No self-consciousness whatsoever.
No, there was self-consciousness, Defo. I don't think there's an accurate assessment, but you really in those situations have no choice, right? So that's how that plays out. I mean, both you and I, and I believe
I'm a horrible dancer, so I respect that you tried.
We're all part of a certain persuasion, and there's there in this tribe, there's just no room for dancing issues. Apparently, because none of us are any good at it. So that's sort of how that plays. I mean, you can't really do what is it the hora, or is that what we call
hora? Was that I could
people,
probably
lift people on the chairs, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like that's it's not really going to work. There's one Jewish rapper. What's his name? Metzi. I know somebody
was Vanilla Ice.
Yeah. He may be. I'm not sure, but
that was great, and very, very. I mean, it's a joy to see, Scoop. So, congratulations on the fine job you've done under what are not the easiest of circumstances for a lot of people. Although it probably is mellowed out over time, as these things tend to do. All right, we were talking about the Dolphins. I said, I don't know. I mean, a good way to characterize it. I was thinking, well, what is more suspect than like a Rudy Giuliani election fraud brief? But, I mean, what did you think of the early play calling in that game? I know you were there, and we saw you at Perk. All of these screen passes. Lubie was screaming about it. What did you make of that, their approach?
Well, I think first thing, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of trust in the interior line to get off the ball and just run it. And I thought actually one of the more important things that happened in that game is not the big plays, although they needed the big plays. They're going to need the big plays in every game, obviously, just the way they're constructed. But the small plays that they made, which were basically just lining up and giving the ball to the fullback, or giving the ball to Wilson at the end of that game, like that ended up closing the game for them, and put them in position to get the 2 field goals. The Sanders only made one of them, but I just think they need to be simpler sometimes, honestly. Like, he gets overly creative and cute. And I know he's playing to his talent base and he's trying to avoid certain things. Again, the line can only hold for so long. And so you throw a lot of these screen passes and all that. I was surprised to see the PFF had, because 3 of the Dolphins linemen were like 3 of their 6 best performers on Sunday, which
Wow.
again, makes me either question my eyes or their grading system. But they had Austin Jackson and Liam Eichenberg both very high in their grades, like over 75, which was a pretty good number. So they obviously liked what they were doing play to play, but it didn't seem to be generating any push or any rhythm. And I thought Tua was a little off early. I don't think he was quite on. And then you had the throw he made to Berrios on the 4th down. He was a little late with it. Berrios probably should have caught it anyway. But you could see there was an opening where he could have gotten him in more space. There were a couple of those. I thought he kind of got his sea legs as the game went on. And I also, I do think there's something to the fact that, your the number one player in the league, basically the catalyst to your entire offense, has an incident before the game.
That was some incident, as it turned out.
Right. And then you come in and now it's like we're asking guys to be human. I mean, we're asking guys not to be human, basically, like not to be affected by it whatsoever. I mean, if you're a coaching staff, you had to wonder kind of where his head was at after that. Again, without getting into the specifics of the incident, which apparently you can't even ask about it. Like, this is how polarizing it is. I literally just threw a poll up because I'm seeing all this. I want to know where our audience is on it, I guess, where the community is on it, because I interact with them all the time. And so I have an opinion on it. Okay, after seeing the video, and the whole entire video yesterday, but you can't say I couldn't even ask. I simply asked, like a poll, like who is most at fault in this situation? Police, Tyreek, both. I mean, the results came in kind of as I expected, but then I've got, how could you dare ask this question? And I'm like, it's a question. I mean, it's just I'm just trying to see where people are at with it, particularly because it's become a national story. I mean,
yes.
it's becoming. It was.
I saw Tyreek on CNN last night.
He was on last night. The Dolphins have been very aggressive about it, which again I very much appreciated and applauded their statement yesterday, because I thought that it's very tough to kind of write a statement like that kind of covers all of it, where it doesn't blame the police as an institution, but at the same time, cites what happened in that situation. Okay. And I thought it was a well-written, well-constructed statement. And you got, Defo, from years of me working around you, I'm not one to generally praise the Dolphins offhand, because I tend to think the Heat handle things better than them over the years, on, matters big and small. But I thought that was well done by them. But if anybody thinks this issue is going away, it's not. I mean, because of the history to it, the backstory with Kaepernick a few years ago. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if the candidates are asked about it tonight.
Oh, really?
As a way to get
your
into
man
this
Trump
issue.
Should handle that well.
Right. That's the
he
thing.
just got the endorsement for Eternal Order. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I could absolutely see it being used as a question tonight, where, you basically, because he's basically said that police should have total and complete immunity, right? I mean, that's his words. I mean, I know he's also said he was pro-abortion or anti-abortion. Well, he's changed that 12 times, but I'm just saying, like he has said that, and so I could absolutely see a moderator reshaping a question. Said, you've said that in all cases, and trust me, he's seen the video by now. I'm sure his people have shown it because they're debate prepping. So if that ends up being asked, then this issue escalates even more, because we know that people are not rational about the political element of this on either side at this point. So it's just, and so all this is to say, you have this thing happen right before the game. Team comes out a little flat, out of rhythm, and it felt like it took them some time. And honestly, if Javon Holland doesn't make that play, they lose. And then we're having a whole question about, then we're having a whole question as we go forward about whether or not that situation is what led to the loss. I know that's the way that narrative would have been painted, because they scored 7 points at that point through like the middle of the third quarter. So I could absolutely, the Javon Holland play saved that day for them in all ways.
No doubt about it. Go ahead, Lubie.
And that's the thing is like, we've talked about this. Your former co Jason Cole has talked about this with us. Like the first month of the preseason now is nothing. It just they don't even try to make it anything anymore. So it's really the first month of the season is turned into like the pseudo preseason, and that's what you saw around the league, and that's what you saw. The Tyreek thing definitely had an effect on Tyreek. He really didn't get his footing until the second, third quarter. Same thing with Tua. I mean, Tua just looked off. And yeah, he's not great under pressure, but even when he was getting pressure, he was off until the end of the third quarter when he finally linked up with Tyreek. And as I guess you guys pointed out, that wasn't even it was not only linking up with Tyreek, it was him doing the thing he supposedly can't do where he shakes off a first read, and not only shook off a first read, it was a first read that actually was open. Like I first was like, why isn't he throwing it to Waddle? It was him being patient in a rare good pocket and finding Tyreek even more open and letting them just sort of explode onto the scene. And from that point on, even though the score was only 3, they sort of were in control after that. It was a weird dichotomy for me because McDaniel started out in the same fashion where he does a lot of this cute shit. And it's like, dude, try a run. Would run it here and there, and it would get them 2, 3, 4 yards. So if it's 3rd and 3, why are you doing a screen where you go fucking backwards 4 yards? Like I never liked that play, and it rarely works giving the defense a head start like that. But at
that was a Gase play.
I said no, but they threw like 50 screens. I'm like, is Adam Gase the goddamn coach again? Like, what's going on? But at the end, it showed a little maturity when people like me were like, shoot, I don't trust Sanders at all. I know you've belittled Sanders. Are you really going to grind out the clock and kick a 50-something yarder with Jason Sanders? But old McDaniel wouldn't have. Old McDaniel would have tried to throw. Tua would have taken a goddamn sack like he did earlier in the game. They would have lost a field goal opportunity, and they probably would have lost that game. The fact that he was patient, he ran the ball, they made it a makeable field goal for Jason Sanders, and he made it by like 10 yards. It's like, okay, maybe he's showing something. I just would like to see that more throughout the game. I'd like to see him not be so freaking cute, and he continues to do it, and that's what my issues, reservations are with him.
I think that's why he had a reaction to my question because it was self-deprecating on his part, which it typically is. But I talked about the small plays, the end of the game, the short yardage stuff. He goes, well, because we're the number 1 team in the league on short yardage, and I'm thinking, wait a second, did I get that wrong? And he's come back at me. He's like, no, he's making fun of the fact that they're not.
Right.
So he's aware of the perception, and look, as observers, as fans, as whatever, we don't know everything that's going on 11 on 11 there, okay, that causes him or what he's seen in certain coverages or what to make him decide, okay, we have to go on the outside here because we can't get this play up the middle. So there is, there's something to be said that they know more infinitely than we do about this. But I also do think with him that, which is interesting because he was a run game coordinator in San Francisco, but I do think with him, there is always going to be a push to do the most creative, aggressive thing possible. And I know, and so I just think that's his inclination, and he's going to go back to that. It's why I think he'd rather lose doing what he believes is the best counter to what the defense is going to do to him than to kind of play into conventional wisdom, even if it may be more successful most of the time. I just think it's the way he's conditioned. I think he has a certain way that he thinks is going to work against this, and he wants to, and we can call that stubbornness. I mean, we get some of that with the head coach in Miami too, where he do certain things like fans want to know why, he starts 6'5" guys at the power forward position. But he has a certain belief about offensive basketball and the way that things, work. And that's just the way that is. And I think in both cases, you're dealing with bright guys who, again, have had success doing it the way they've done it. And so he's going to do it. But Lubie, I'm with you on the frustration of it because They apparently can pick up a yard if they need to.
Yes!
Like and their fullback got it done, and they did keep a big back, to be able to do that, and they used them in the second half. I'll say this, I'm not surprised Mostert struggled because I've had this kind of feeling that he's going to have a big drop off this year. As much as I like Raheem, I think, and Achane gets hurt pretty easily, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the run game.
Where's Pete Johnson when you need him? I know you might have to run, Scoop, but I did want to get a quick thought if you have time on the Buffalo Bills coming up. I mean, it's right around the corner. They come right back out there. Neither team looked particularly sharp, especially offensively. The Bills were trailing the Cardinals throughout most of the game on their home field. And the Dolphins, we saw, struggled mightily to come out with a victory against Jacksonville at home. What do you make of this matchup? And I mean, how much different do you expect week number 2 to be around the NFL from week number 1, where it looked like everybody was showing ring rust?
I think it'll be a little different, but again, they've got such a short run here that I think that you almost have to put in your plan for 2 games, even though the teams are so different. Now, the one benefit to Miami is called a benefit or detriment. They know this team. I mean, the Bills have changed some pieces, but they know this team. So the prep is going to be pretty standard. I mean, the prep pretty much starts with Josh Allen, and then everything works off of that. And I don't think a lot changed in that first game in terms of what Buffalo did that will change Miami's approach here. So, the bad thing is they've lost 10 of 11 to them. And it's not like that's not one of those empty stats. I mean, the quarterback has been the same. So it's that's the issue, and McDaniel's aware of it. And but I think they looked at these games as a 2-game grouping, and I'm sure that there are things that they put in. And the benefit is they had all a camp to prepare. It's not like they didn't know who the second opponent was going to be, and they didn't know it was going to be, 3 days off or 4 days off in between, something like that. So, I mean, to me, this is, again, it's about keeping Allen from hurting you the other ways. He's really hurt them with his legs over the years, and that needs to be controlled. And I also think, like I said, let's see how healthy the Dolphins running backs are. They got both Mostert and Achane on the injured list, right? Or they were questionable, or they didn't practice yesterday. So it's kind of a doubt, but I feel like one of them at least will get elevated by Thursday, so they should be okay. And they drafted Jalen Wright, I think, for this reason, so we may get a look at him on Thursday night. But look, they have to beat this team. I mean, this is I say must win early in the season, but it's a must win early in the season because it's the home game against them. They get them later in the year on the road, which is not going to be easy. And you do not want to have a situation where you get swept by Buffalo, because then you're not winning the division probably. And even though I think the Jets are wholly overrated, and I've said that all offseason, and I think we saw that last night.
All right, well, slow down in that Maserati as you're making your way into the stadium, even if you're going to be late for the buffet.
I drove right by this, like literally. I drove right by this, and then all of a sudden I'm getting texts, and I'm thinking it's AI, because like these days you can't trust anything.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, people say, Tyreek, and I'm like, okay, this is just some more bullshit. And the bullshit has continued. Because like the theory is online. People are saying he went 120 and a 40. I'm sorry. Like, again, I'm not justifying the speeding. Okay, I'm not.
No one's going 120 there. Yeah.
No. I mean, literally, there'd be 12 people dead. I hate to say it, but like, you can't. Like, you can't even go. I'm surprised he was able to go whatever he went, 55 or 60, without crashing into somebody. I mean, that's when everybody starts arriving for parking, and let's be honest, they don't. I will say this: police really don't know what they're doing as far as sending people to the parking areas. Like
total chaos.
I have the same pass. Yeah. I have the same pass every time, and I'm sent to 4 different places. So it's like, it's not, again, not condoning the speeding or the reckless driving. Okay, but just saying, don't send me any letters.
They did add 2 years to Derek Chauvin's sentence as a result of the body cam video coming out. This guy's going to do more time. I mean, it looked very much like the Floyd incident from many years ago. Scoop, I know you got to run. 5 Reasons Sports Network. You guys are on top of everything. And how can people find you guys online?
5 Reasons Sports on Twitter. We do have a lot of Dolphins content. I just want to mention that on the YouTube channel. We appreciate what you guys send over as well. We've got Pulse of Phins Nation tonight at 7:30, and we've got Inside Leverage show tomorrow night at 8:00. So we have a lot of coverage, and also myself and Alex Dono will be on today. I don't know if we're going to touch this thing or not. I really don't. I can't. It's I don't know. I feel like we should talk football, but it's like, this is CNN. There's been a lot of these where CNN has gotten involved in South Florida things over the years.
So there's Billy
Gates, right? I mean, there's been But once they do, it's over. So it's over. We've lost the plot here. Anyway.
All right. Yeah, I know you got to run. You got like 1,000 podcasts to do today. Yes. Always a pleasure, Ethan. Thanks so much. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. All right, Lubie, that was it, huh? That was a quick one.
That'll do it.
Wow. I mean, I don't know that we got too deeply into anything there, but Scoop's always great. And must-win situation. Pivotal game 2, Lubie.
Yeah, I mean, it's pivotal
game 2.
You should win. Like, it's pivotal. It's must-win because it's a game you should win. Just like this last game was that.
I got to run. I smell something burning. I don't know what the hell it is. So,
I have my cleaning people.
Okay. We'll see you 1 o'clock out there at Taco Craft.
Lauderdale by the
Sea. Beautiful. All right. Thanks, Lube. All right. Bye. See you guys later. As we leave, you know that.
The time.
It's 9:03.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.